Good morning. Welcome to Rising. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm joined by Amisha Cross. Long time no see. Good to have you back.
Always glad to be here. Happy holidays.
You as well.
Well, I know that you have a lot to talk about today, so what's on your radar, Robby?
Happy to tell you. Well, the spending bill is likely dead now that both Donald Trump and Elon Musk have come out against Republican Speaker Mike Johnson's plan to fund the government. That's a relief to me because this bill is, well, talk about betrayals. The new bipartisan spending bill that would have avoided an upcoming government shutdown includes an extension of funds for, get this, the State Department's Global Engagement Center. Now, longtime viewers will remember that name. The Global Engagement Center is the Biden administration's official censor, recommending widespread suppression of disfavored content online. The agency has become reviled by conservatives, and rightly so. The Republican-led House Judiciary Committee is investigating the center. According to the Washington Examiner's Gabe Kaminsky, whose terrific reporting has really brought to life serious free speech violations and wrongdoings committed by the State Department, Republicans are credibly accusing the GEC of orchestrating a speech suppression campaign against conservatives alongside left-wing nonprofit groups and social media companies. Indeed, defunding and/or abolishing the Global Engagement Center is an important policy goal for the GOP. But now the 1,500-page spending bill that Speaker Mike Johnson is trying to sell to his members contains a one-year reauthorization of funding for this agency. Incredible. Representative Jim Banks blasted leadership for inserting this lifeline for the Global Engagement Center into the bill. Quote, "This CR funds the censorship of conservative speech for the entire first year of the Trump administration. Unacceptable." Senator Mike Lee similarly wondered, why is the Republican House about to reauthorize a government censorship and propaganda operation? What are we even doing here? Make no mistake, the Global Engagement Center was indeed responsible for widespread suppression of conservative speech. The GEC allocates State Department funding, your tax dollars, in other words, to the Global Disinformation Index, which is a British nonprofit that pressured advertisers to stop working with certain news sites. Those sites included conservative news websites like The Federalist, The Daily Caller, The Daily Wire, my own libertarian magazine, Reason. Look, if nonprofits want to spread false information about provocative organizations, that's their prerogative, and we can respond by calling them out. There's no reason, however, that these nonprofits should be beneficiaries of tax money or should coordinate with the State Department. The American people are literally being forced to pay for their own censorship. This is exactly the sort of nonsense that Trump's re-election is supposed to end once and for all. We have total Republican control of the government. Let's do something good with it. It's not a good sign that some congressional Republicans were already willing to completely sell out their voters and break a key campaign promise, backpedaling on the fundamental issue of free speech. Thankfully, there are some leaders within the Republican coalition who are not prepared to just let that happen. They include Representatives Thomas Massie, Elon Musk himself, and of course, President-elect Donald Trump. Let's go back to the drawing board. Yes, avoid a government shutdown. I think that's important. We don't want to shut the government down clumsily without deliberately trying to ramp down the things that are not good about it. But we should certainly not fund censorship in the meantime. So there was a lot of conservative ire, Amisha, yesterday when it was revealed that this deeply hated agency by the right still managed to get funding for another year. Like, congressional Republicans are investigating it right now. They're trying to shut it down, and they were going to fund it for another year. You and I might have different views about whether this agency is good or not, but the level of contempt elected Republican officials have for their voters, it's like, this is what you were put in here to do. Why won't you ever do it? And they wonder why they can't win.
Well, I think that they also recognize that, and remember, that they had gotten to this resolution with bipartisanship. I think that they got there because they recognize what the numbers are. Remember, this is still a very slim margin, and they're going to have to do some horse trading with Democrats. There are certain things they can stand on and get across, and there are certain things they're just not going to be able to. I think that at this point, that continuing resolution is extremely long. It does include some wish list things for Dems, but it also includes a lot of wish list things for Republicans. That's typically how this works. I think that what we're seeing and what we're harping on here is interesting because this CR also included things that help to fund education. It included things that would help to fund a lot of the immigration reform issues that folks want to see with security at the border. It helped to fund several things that the voters actually said that they wanted, including expansion of healthcare assets. So I think that, this is one part of something that's a whole lot larger with a lot of things that the American public has literally said that they needed.
Don't you think in an ideal world, though, we would be having debate, having our political figures weigh the merits of each of those individual things, rather than folding it all into this, this is how we reauthorize the funding for the government, right? We have this dramatic, it's all about to come crashing down, let's rush to vote for, we don't even know what we're voting for. They're voting on these bills that are, they're wheeling in by cartload the pages of the bill. They don't know what they're voting for. Instead of having a debate over, here's how much funding we ought to give for education. Here's how much funding we ought to give for the border. Here's how much funding, here's this agency. Oh, you guys actually hate this agency. Our voters want us to kill it. We would do it on an individual basis, but because we have such an totally dysfunctional, broken political system, it's all or nothing.
No, I agree with you. I do think that some of these things should be separate. I also would argue that this is not a new practice. This has happened in Republican administrations, Democratic administrations over generations at this point. Part of it is because, the process is slow and arduous. Nobody really wants to see how the sausage is made. In all honesty, to get one bill across the floor, in most cases, it takes a really long time, particularly the ones that Americans want to see the most. I think about healthcare. The most sizable healthcare package we got was the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. People have been working on something similar to the Affordable Care Act for the better half of 60 years. So at the end of the day, if people really want to see something and they want to see it within their lifetimes, in some ways, this is the only way you're going to get it done.
Trump made a very specific promise on that front. He said, if we can get something better, we'll do it.
In 2 days? Because this is what? Well, less than 2 days now because they need something by Friday.
Yeah, they need something. We don't want the government to shut down, but they have to listen on some level to what. They won the election, they have a mandate to do some things, and it's like everything
mandate
keeps
is
going.
Interesting because in the House, they also need a lot of Democratic support because, again, that margin of victory is extremely slim. They are not going to get anything done unless they have Democrats on board as well.
Well, it depends how
so mandate is an interesting word.
It depends how they anger the
supermajority.
No, of course not, but they have a trifecta. Republicans control the Supreme Court. They control Congress. Donald Trump just won the popular vote. The polling on immigration, inflation. Well, yeah. I don't know. I obviously you need Democrats in the House, and some Democrats have talked about going along with Elon and Trump to find areas to cut. I've been very happy to hear about potential cuts to the Defense Department, for instance, which I'm totally in support of, and Ro Khanna and Bernie Sanders and other people have said, yeah, let's look at that. So I've been glad to hear some independent-minded Democrats signaling a desire to work with Republicans to cut some things, and I think that would be good. Here is a textbook thing you can cut. It's not like it has the most funding in the entire world or something. You can't balance the budget on getting rid of the Global Engagement Center, but I would still like to get rid of it. So we will see if that happens in whatever the new spending bill is going to be. We've got more to discuss on this front. Nice to have you with us, Amisha. Stay tuned, more Rising right after this.